Good morning. Good to see everyone after a late night. Our objective here in the next 6 minutes is to give you a basic education in what makes fraud sophisticated, at least enough to ask smart questions and determine if you're getting smart answers. We can obviously talk for hours about this problem, but we just wanted to highlight some of the key characteristics of what makes it sophisticated and what makes it different. All right, great. So we've tracked this problem from various other sources of cybercrime and malware, and that's one of the important aspects, is that this is one of the prime avenues to monetize malware-based botnets, and that's what we'll get into a little bit here. The key aspect of this is that over 2/3 of the fraud that we've seen over the last couple of years comes from what we call malware compromised machines. So all the viruses, all the malware that you see out there infecting normal machines is driving a lot of the fraud. So what this means is that there's human behavior and non-human behavior from the same machine, sometimes at the same time. And when you look at infection rates of malware and virus and the proliferation of viruses, we're talking about 10 to 20% in some cases when you include crimeware, and that's a key aspect of this.
So fundamentally, the bad guys succeed because they're exploiting an implicit trust that the entire advertising ecosystem has in cookies and other device identifiers. Since it's our consumers' devices that are getting compromised, the fraud is coming from within the home. And what this means is that the data models of the gods cannot eliminate fraud. In fact, we'll find malware involved in the inflation of ad inventory that is using the real cookies of people with purchase histories and demographic profiles, which means that it's regularly getting whitelisted. And that is why this is such a pernicious issue, despite the fact that this is an industry that has attracted some of the world's best data scientists, right? This is an industry that has literally hired rocket scientists. The reason why this problem persists is not because of a lack of effort. In fact, there's an extraordinary amount of effort going into the general problem of serving the right ad to the right person at the right time. And obviously, crimeware is never the right person. So if sophisticated targeting and even performance-oriented buying solved this problem, then the problem would be solved already. The fundamental way that the criminal operators at the end of the fraud value chain make money is by selling visits. This is an ecosystem that has more apparent inventory than the true supply of human attention because you can buy visitors on a per-click basis. And that's led to extraordinary adaptation, where as marketers try to find the most effective KPIs to optimize their campaigns towards, that becomes the KPIs that those who are running out of inventory buy for. You literally can buy traffic that will dwell on your site for certain amounts of time, that'll load a page fully, load the ads to trigger viewability, scroll down the page so that ads that are on the bottom of the page look viewable. And that's because that's what buyers are buying on right now. As the KPIs shift, then the bot behaviors also shift. So this is not a game of whack-a-mole where we're just trying to continuously identify the quote-unquote low-quality users. That there's a lot of talent that can solve that problem. Instead, the problem that we need to solve is something that is actually formalized in defense circles. It's the OODA loop. When you are engaging with an active adversary who is also at least as skilled as you are, then you're both adapting to each other. And in all situations like that, in the battle space, this can be a dogfight. In cyberspace, it's usually about cyber warfare adaptation. The winning strategies are the ones that adapt against the adversary faster than the adaptation cycle of the adversary. We call this getting inside the OODA loop. And what it means is that we are cycling through this loop faster than the adversary. So by the time our adversary is making a decision about the right counter move, we're actually playing the counter move that's the next round in the game, if you will. This is something that has been formally developed now for years in defense circles in order to gain structural advantage against adversaries that are at least as technically skilled as we are. And when you do that, then there is a path to, let's call it winning. And that's about shrinking the profit window. Our cybercriminal adversaries, the ones that are actually creating the fake supply in the form of visits, aren't necessarily trying to go undetected forever. Instead, what they're doing is continuously infecting new machines. And as long as the new infections are progressing at least as quickly as their stale infections are getting caught, then analytics vendors can show you beautiful numbers about all the fraud that they've identified and stopped, but they've stopped it after the bad guys have effectively made their money. So there's this continuous wave of freshly infected computers that are undiscovered in the ecosystem. That's where almost all of the profits from fraud are actually happening. So the only way to stop this problem is not to employ like N more data scientists, as if that's what the ecosystem is missing in order to identify fraud. It's instead to structurally shrink the profit window. This isn't an intractable problem. It's not an endless game of whack-a-mole. Why? Because if we shrink the profits while raising the costs and the risks to our adversaries, this just stops looking like an attractive crime.
So the problem's not intractable, and the primary effect of managing this is good data, and good data science is data integrity. There's a couple layers of impact to data, not just loss to fraud and to dollars, but there's secondary impacts to the integrity of algorithms, to everything that we're trying to do here and reaching the right human eyeballs. And that's missed opportunity, essentially. And this brings up the importance of accuracy and a human-first approach to measurement. And I believe that's time. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.